Folks, what you can see right here is Munich just about 10 years back. And then right here we have Munich right now in 1863. You can see that the city has grown, our prosperity has grown, and we are a different city and also actually a different country than we used to be. You see, we have quite the special nation. If we take a look at what we are and what we've been doing, you can see that we have promoted social mobility, which gives us education, access and qualifications literally everywhere. This makes it so that we have an extraordinarily educated and honestly even fairly wealthy population. It also, of course, makes it so that, man, honestly, our industrialization has been doing much better than it historically did. And I mean, I don't even think I need to mention our literacy rate, and Jesus, can I just say, man, Russia is in a deep, dark age. But anyway, the literacy rate here is really high because we focused on it, and that gives us an incredibly politically active population. Now, Springtime of the Peoples in the game in Victoria 3 is really cool. It gives you a chance to really massively change the trajectory of your country and maybe emerge as something that honestly might be somewhat hostile towards the old order. I mean, think about it. If we were to become a republic with universal elections, that is quite literally what the Holy Alliance, historically speaking, between Prussia, Austria and Russia was against, to suppress any sort of enlightenment. That was the whole idea. But the Springtime of the Peoples as a concept, as a historical idea, goes much further. When we take a look at the revolution of 1848-49 historically speaking, then we are looking at a situation, for example in France, where people were primarily fighting for socially liberal values. They wanted to have free speech, the right of assembly, and they wanted to have elections, and quite possibly indeed, as they did historically, a republic. But when we take a look at other nations, at other locations here, we will notice that there is a nuance to this entire thing that isn't present in Victoria 3. I'm talking about the fact that in 1848-49 we had the situation in Italy that led to independence / unification / liberation wars, ultimately of course failing, and only really having a result when Sardinia-Piedmont jumped in and did what it did by unifying all of Italy. In Hungary we had of course the Hungarian secession that almost destroyed Austria, had it not been for Russia coming in and stamping it out. Ultimately, of course, going against social liberal but also against nationalistic values was exactly the purpose of Prussia, Russia and Austria signing the Holy Alliance Treaty after Napoleon had been destroyed. Then, of course, in Poland you have unrest because the Polish nation now has been splintered and suppressed for many decades. In Germany, it actually led to the very first pan-national assembly right here in Frankfurt in the Paulskirche. This assembly attempted to form a German consensus to unify either in a decentralized but big nature, so for example with Austria, in a centralized but small nature with just Prussia and then, well, the actual Kaiserreich borders, right? Or to centralize in no order whatsoever, because there were of course also people that sabotaged it. Never forget that Otto von Bismarck was actually a member of this assembly, and he was not exactly a fan of either parliamentarism nor of nationalism. This leaves us in a situation where this journal entry doesn't cover this at all, but I think we can sort of infer how our people feel about this. What I mean is that we are looking at a year of 1863 that is significantly different from what 1848 was like historically. I mean, think about it. There was no SGF, that much should be clear. But maybe more importantly, Prussia has already defeated Austria in the Brothers' War. If you recall, then you will maybe remember that the nation here is indeed under the leadership of Prussia right now. It is just that we have denied our agreement. I'm pretty sure if I press this button, Prussia could immediately unify everything. Yeah, because it's only us, it's Oldenburg, and it is Bremen and Hamburg that are holding out, meaning if I were to agree, Germany could be formed right now. But the reality is that there is no German Confederation. After Prussia defeated Austria in the Bruderkrieg, we were looking at a complete dissolution of the German Confederation that was essentially the stand-in after the Holy Roman Empire had been dissolved. What this means for us is that there can be no assembly. Yes, the Springtime of the Peoples will fire. Yes, our people want social liberties and unification. But we can't even say that in a roleplay sense there is an assembly going on where all the Germans meet. The Germans are truly more separated than they were historically. What this means when it comes to our roleplay here is that should we actually get a revolutionary victory, should we become a republic, I will treat this in the same sense as though we had suddenly become a nationalistic-minded entity. An entity that looks at Prussia and would say, King Friedrich Wilhelm von Hohenzollern, he is not ripe to be the Emperor of Germany, we have to create our own order. Should the old order prevail here, then obviously the SGF may remain the SGF until the end of all days. What excites me so much about our scenario here is that while of course the German Confederation is gone, the Third Germany has actually been unified. It is incredibly strong. See, historically speaking, after the German Confederation was dissolved, we were talking about something called the Third Germany and the South German Federation. Bavaria, Württemberg and Baden, of course at the behest of France, that was not interested in a strong unified Germany. We're talking about the idea of unifying and ultimately disagreed because, well, I mean, how can 50 million squabbling lords actually agree with one another? Obviously that can't be done. This is not the scenario right here. We are in a situation where the Third Germany has emerged and might even become any stronger if we were to get Hanover into our customs union. I don't think I want to conquer anything here, but honestly, if we were to remain in our own market, getting the Netherlands, Belgium and then Hanover to also join us, I don't see why it would be too unlikely. The Third Germany would look very weird, but I think we might be able to reasonably pull it off. But anyway, today we have to explore what we're doing when it comes to social liberal values and to nationalist values. Just make sure to keep in mind the historical context, because it is so very important if you want to understand what my decision-making process might look like. Anyway, we do have a mining accident right here, and I actually like this because, man, this is going to spawn in a whole bunch more of radicals. A mine in Franconia has collapsed, trapping miners within the dark shafts below. The scale of the accident has made the tragedy a story across Franconia and the nation. I wonder, you know, it's quite interesting. Obviously, we're talking in the context of the game, we're talking about just South Germans, which is adequate. I mean, you know, it's a fairly small culture blob compared to other bigger ones that might be able to be split if we wanted to do it. But the people in Franconia are not the same people as the people here in Bavaria. These are basically, we still even today, although it is very, very rare to use this sort of phrasing, we call them the constituent tribes of Bavaria. The Kingdom of Bavaria itself was founded by the von Wittelsbach dynasty to unify the different cultures under one banner, so that they wouldn't see themselves as sort of independent tribes. We got the Bavarians, we got the Swabians right here, and we got the Franconians. And then in the olden time, we of course have the Bavarian Palatinate as well. Today we have Württemberg and we have Baden. Now when we make this decision, we have to take into account that we are a fairly conservative faction, the petite bourgeoisie, the armed forces and the industrialists in government. Do we care for the Franconians, and maybe more importantly, do we care for the poor? I think, I mean, you know I gotta go with this, right? We're not gonna please the rural folk, we will disrespect them, we might not be landowners anymore, but I have no love for the rural folk as it stands. The trade, no, okay, come on. We're going to make a massive amount of radicals. Keep this in mind right here, 2.87 million. Oh god, that's a lot of radicals. And yep, there it is, immediately, radicals at the gates. The radical movement is becoming popular, uncontrollable and violent. Calls for revolution echo in the streets. Extreme measures may be necessary. I gotta tell you, our king, he's a smart guy, right? He's an expert political operator, a masterful diplomat and explorer, and he is tactful. I think that he knows that the nationalist threat, that the social liberal threat might undo everything that he and his ancestors have worked for. I think we're gonna immediately introduce secret police. It is also, of course, in line with the petite bourgeoisie, who, I believe it is under patriotic. Yeah, there you go. They like secret police. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to introduce this. This is our immediate reaction to what is, of course, the action, the revolutionary movement right here. We're going to try to shut them up. Not a smart move if you don't want to agitate people, but hey, agitating the intelligentsia, I mean, come on, they deserve it, right? Yeah, and there they are. The traitors before the king. Their radicalism is very, very high. The big issue that we have here, or rather the big risk that we run, is definitely that they are actually able to rebel. Should any of these other leaders here also turn, we might have a bit of an issue. The good word of the revolution. Now, proponents of liberal reforms are looking to spread their ideas to our neighboring countries. I don't think so. I will contain this, making them even angrier. Alright, I like to live dangerously. Oh, and oh boy. A revolutionary for our time. A voice for the liberalism currently on the rise has resonated with the industrialists. Has it now? Josef Anton von Maffei. Huh. Peter Maffei. That can't be related, right? You let me know. Oh yeah, and this is actually something that I forgot to highlight. We have incredibly popular politicians. First of all, our king is beloved. He's a masterful diplomat. But then we have the industrialists, the armed forces, and the petite bourgeoisie, all three of which are actually incredibly beloved because they are German unifiers. But obviously they are stopping short before really attempting to unify Germany. They did the SGF in the name of the king, but that is it. And then on the other side, we have the intelligentsia under this radical leader who is loved because he is a firebrand and a popular radical. I will be honest with you, I think I can justify basically any political pivot here because all of these politicians are just so damn charismatic. Now, do the industrialists turn? That is the big question. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is far too extreme for German politics. As long as they are still in government, I will not let them turn. Should at any point they leave government because they're angry with us, that sort of stuff, maybe. But for the moment, no. This is far too extreme. Ooh, and here we have the same event, but for the rural folk, and quite frankly, sure. I mean, the rural folk are in the opposition. We mistreated them significantly anyway. Give them a leader. Let's see how this is gonna go. And oh, Jesus Christ. Enact right of assembly. 98 radicalism. 98 radicalism. And oh god, an uncanny disappearance. The disappearance of Hugo Orff of the trade unions has raised serious concerns among the elites, given his recent opposition to the secret police. Oh my god, did we actually kill that guy? We're killing him. Oh, no way. I'm gonna be honest with you. I will treat this event in a much grander fashion, I think, than the game wants me to treat it. I think this is a massive public scandal. Look at that, yeah, radicalism 100. This will end our willingness to do this reform. Who comes afterwards? Another radical. Yeah, they're just not letting up. I will cancel this. I will put this down. Oh my god. Enact right of assembly. And you know what? I'll fold. I'll fold. I'll do it. I think the king didn't think that a murder would be necessary and is completely overwhelmed by what has just happened to him. I'm gonna go ahead and pass right of assembly. This is my very first concession to the radicals right here. Let's hope that it will be the last one. Right on time. This is exactly what we needed. Yep. Stirring radicalism. The radical liberal currents in parts of the South German Federation are causing local revolutionary activities. They sure are. I will say it will happen anywhere. I would like to involve Württemberg a bit more. They are already incredibly radical, but I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter. People are mad at us, okay? And they're already mad here in Munich, and they will be mad in Württemberg. It's fine. That's just how the world works. Oh, and Josef Anton von Maffei has died. Now, let me ask you. He's a radical. Wolfgang Deuringer. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be very open with you. We are past concessions. I think we are past concessions. Pan-nationalism has made its way, or is making its way, into the South German Federation, fully sealing the idea in our minds that Germany should be one as a whole, not just the South German Federation. I'm not saying that we're going to achieve this or that we're going to do this, right? I'm just saying I think a government reform is coming in as soon as they stop being insurrectionary, and it's going to be led by the industrialists, as well as the intelligentsia, I guess. I think elections are on their way. There you go. Was, of course, a guaranteed thing. Now I'm just going to wait here until they stop this revolution. And then we can actually go on and properly add them into our government. Yeah, and look at that. The springtime of the peoples in Prussia is over, and they are fairly unscathed. Sure, Parliamentary Republic here is a movement, but it's simply not strong enough, and they are still an autocracy. I do believe they changed something. Right, cultural exclusion. So they stopped discriminating against, for example, the Poles in their country, but very much no social liberties, and honestly probably no push towards forming an actual German nation. Alright, here is what we're going to have as our new government. Intelligentsia, industrialists, and petite bourgeoisie. The petite bourgeoisie is here as a bit of eyewash to keep sort of the authority of Maximilian von Bayern still there as a legitimizing tool for this new government, but let's be honest here, they are no longer the ones that are really creating the magic behind the government. This means we are going to go, all the way to universal suffrage right away. Look at this. Jesus Christ. We have been thoroughly destroyed. I mean, people are so politically active, it shouldn't surprise anybody. But yeah, the petite bourgeoisie in just about 5 years completely lost its standing in this nation. Now, let me take a look at this, right? Are we going to go with a republic? Quite frankly, we might. We might do it. Now, the fact that we've reformed our government, I will let this inform our actual government formation. I'm going to cancel our alliance with Prussia. I'm going to go ahead and basically take a look at this as Prussia is a part of the old order and a part of the anti-German forces. We cannot accept it. Yeah, I hope that this is clear, that we're sort of pushing our internal domestic policies into the foreign policies as well. Oh, and now this is a good question. So they are still in government, but he obviously is just a moderate, and he is a servant of the king. I'm gonna say this is far too extreme for German politics. This is basically Maximilian attempting to keep things together as a last-ditch effort. Now, I will tell you that this will make them angrier, and they might potentially join the forces that want a reaction to our action here, and honestly, that sounds kind of okay to me, right? Makes perfect sense in my mind. Oh man, and now the monarchy further embarrasses itself. So I saved this man, because I didn't want him replaced with, you know, a radical, of course. This is the last bastion that stands between a kingless monarchy and, well, what we currently have, and all of a sudden he was caught being a proprietor in a male brothel. I think, to save face, he must resign. Nope, he actually went further. Lothar Trient is a traditionalist. Very, very nice. Okay, so he's definitely going to stand up for the king, as he should. Alright, folks, and here we have it. The very first elections are just kicking off. I believe maybe, actually, the very first elections on German territory? No, actually, okay, we got some, well, some local elections, basically. But in the very first major of German politics, we are now having elections. And what is it looking like? So, the Progress Party and the I hate this. I'm so distraught by this, okay? The SPD. This is the SPD, not the SDP. Please change this. If you're a dev, please alter this. I'm very distraught about this. The Rural Folk, under Martin Edler winning. Wow. We are going to see the alliance, I would argue, between the industrialists, despite them also being radicals. But I think the alliance here is breaking. I think we're going to see a full transition to a republic. The intelligentsia wants to see it through, and they are crushing it, together with the rural folk who have been mistreated, and quite frankly, this actually might lead us to the smallholding law. I like the idea there. I really love that the Conservative Party is actually the third strongest force here. They really are, slowly but surely, assembling basically the reactionary versus the proper revolutionary forces. And now let's take a look at this. Yeah, wow. This is certainly a shift. The industrialists kicked out. We're not just doing this for liberal values, because that is what the industrialists are doing. We are doing this in the name of change. And you, my friend, can't be a part of it. The king must go. Oh, and we actually finished Path to Liberalism. Let me check. Do we have any other JEs that we really need here? I'm gonna keep this one pinned for sure. The rest isn't really that relevant. Freedom, equality, and brotherhood. The intelligentsia, under the leadership of Johann von Göritz, has ushered in an era of liberal politics that promises a freer society where all citizens have a part in the political process. He is a fearless visionary. Other political leaders would be wise to follow this trend. Lothar Trient. Oh no, we're not gonna do that. Perhaps a voice of reason is needed. Martin Edel. So he's currently a cocaine addict. Right, and he would become a reformer. No, I'm not too interested in that. He is a fearless visionary, for sure. That is exactly what he is. And oh my god, look at how angry they are. We might see a counter-revolution. We might just see it. They, and I assume King Maximilian, are plotting against us, much like Louis XIV. No, sorry, the 16th was plotting in France. Will they succeed? I hope not, because it would be crushing our revolution. And quite frankly, I know that this puts me alone onto the world stage, but Austria is a reactionary force. I will not stand by being your ally anymore. Prussia and Austria, we are the third, and soon the only Germany. And I mean, what else could I do right now, right? The good word of the revolution. Am I going to spread it as a revolutionary government? Absolutely. What are we? They will be as well. Switzerland gets it. Shouldn't change too much for them. They already have elections and all that. But honestly, speaking of this, they might currently see us as a rival. I'm going to try to get better relationships with them just so that we can work that out. They are an ally. They are voting. They're a republic. Things are great over there. We can only hope to emulate it. And this is just perfect. In Württemberg, do we want a monument to the king? This is the very first time in this event, honestly, that I'm saying no. Usually I would never do this. No, perhaps not everyone wishes to be reminded of the king. The petite bourgeoisie can't believe just how much more agitated they are now than they were when they started this. They are at a -19. Jesus. Oh, wow. And it actually went straight into presidential republic. We got it first try. Now, we are negative now on authority, which is not good. Let me just take a look at this. I don't really want to take these away. I might just take away the tax on services and maybe the tax on luxury furniture. It's definitely going to put us into the negatives, but I think we'll be fine. Maximilian von Bayern and Karl Ludwig von Bayern are gone, neither of which, of course, are still relevant. What we're now looking at is Martin Edel. He is the new president, the leader of the rural folk, and a dedicated radical. Now, he is not very well liked, but I don't think that matters for our purposes. We have pushed through a change, and I really want to highlight this flag change. We now have the German eagle, because this isn't just a liberal republic, this is a nationalist republic. And quite frankly, I don't know, actually the church hasn't really stood in our way. Sure, they are part of the faction, but there's nothing too dedicated there. We could go for guaranteed liberties. I think we might first want to reform this though, because we are led by the rural folk. It's a very important topic for them that we leave behind tenant farming and go towards smallholding, giving the power to the common farmer rather than the old aristocracy. This, very much like becoming a republic, is essentially a nationalist liberal reform. Yep, there you go, smallholding, that should do the trick. And this might very well be the last hurrah of the conservative forces. They are at 85 when it comes to radicalism. Why haven't we finished this, by the way? Shouldn't we have this finished? Oh, we do not have insurrectionary interest groups, huh? Yeah, that might take some time. That might take some time for them to calm down. The king is gone. We didn't behead him. God bless him. But yeah, he's no longer with us here. And when you look at that, I have cancelled the consumption taxes on, for example, clothes, which we had previously, and we've gone up by, I believe, 0.5 points in standard of living. I would guess that this is largely the standard of living of the lower strata. Yeah, weren't we at like 18% under the expected minimum standard of living? And all of a sudden, it's under 10%. Yeah, we're really pushing that up. The middle strata seems to be doing fairly poorly. Interesting. I definitely have to do something there. And oh my god, the obligation we owe to Austria has expired. Oh, okay, that means this should also very, very soon expire. In the next couple of weeks. Yeah, there it is. Wow. God bless. So we were never actually pulled into their market, and we're doing just fine. Nice. Man, and now I actually have an additional question right here, right? They are a fairly, they are a conservative country, but conservative for King Ferdinand Philippe d'Orléans definitely means something different, right? They have wealth voting, they have rights of assembly, they have a national guard. You know, I'm thinking maybe we want to start patching this over with France. We're currently in a rivalry. I might just... Honestly, I'm going to stop embargoing them, and I'm going to end this rivalry. I'm just looking at this from an angle where, if we could patch this up, they could become a very strong ally, although, I mean, we do hold Alsace-Lorraine. I don't know, it's not going to be easy, but they are the more natural ally, together with Switzerland, Belgium, and the Netherlands, compared to Prussia and Austria, I think. And there you go, Springtime of the Peoples has been completed. It looks as though conservative forces have lost all of their energy. The Catholic Church might be here to stay, quite frankly. They sure were against it the whole time, but they didn't fully agitate, and they certainly weren't the driving force behind the oppression of the king. The revolution victorious. We're still very much under state religion, so that is an interesting thing to consider. Johann von Goeritz and the intelligentsia have proven that the goals of the radical movement are achievable in the South German Federation. The von Goeritz cabinet will bring greater liberties yet, or our people are our strength. I'll be honest with you, this is a deeply, deeply nationalist movement. We cancelled our alliances with the regimes of old that do not want German unification. Our people are our strength. Please tell me, okay, it's a decent amount. I'll take this. This is much better than what we had before. And now it is all about making people happy so that we can leave this massive amount of radicals behind us. And man, we are still trying to pass smallholding right here, and it seems that our people are tired of how long it is taking. You can see that the Progress Party, after we have, I guess, actually succeeded in what it wanted to do, is sort of plummeting. And the SPD is massively, massively succeeding. Yeah, we are definitely going to keep pushing for this, and we might even go towards workers' regulations. We'll have to see what we do. Oh, and this is a big one. Would you look at that? The French have stopped actually embargoing us. Now, this doesn't change that we are still cold, that they're still antagonistic, and I believe that they have still rivaled us. Yep, there it is. But we are getting there. And I think long-term, maybe we can turn this around. Maybe we can become a friend of France and an enemy of these two. Man, I would love to take all this, release all the minority regions right here. Well, over the entire empire, I guess. And then actually have a port down here. That would be beautiful. There you have it, finally, small holding has been passed. Now this does make our actual output significantly worse for quite some time. It should be, there it is, land redistribution. At least initially it is quite significantly bad, but long term this will definitely be absolutely worth it, as now all of a sudden the farmers are in control. I think the landowners have been punished basically, well, forever, right? They aren't coming back, or at least I don't think they will. Now I would like to go towards protectionism right here. But is there anything that is more urgent? Is this something we actually want to do? I don't know, I don't think it fits the characteristic of what has been happening. You can see the country here is very split on this issue. And I think I'm just going to keep it the way it is. We could go towards guaranteed liberties. They definitely love the idea of this. I think that is fine. We could try to pass some of this. You know what? Can I pass regulatory bodies right here? It would be nice. You know what? I think we're going to go towards interventionism just to weaken the capitalist class a tiny bit more and support ourselves. Obviously, this will kind of weaken us, but I think it is very much in line with the current government. Yeah. And you know what? With an incredibly strong trade union and rule folk that are both members of the SPD, let's move towards proportional taxation. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you, right? Sure, some people might dislike it, but this is for the good of the nation. I am making so much more money now, you would not believe it. We are making so much money. Now listen, the next priority here is very, very clear to me. I think we're gonna go with workers' protections. Let's see whether we can push this through, because if we can, man, I think the trade unions will be here to stay. Now this journal entry is actually very interesting. The last monarchist. The South German Federation has successfully maintained a republican form of government for many years now. There are few who still remember the old monarchy with any fondness. The days of highborn kings ruling over the meek peasantry atop a gilded throne are over. Let them pass into the realm of storybooks and fairy tales where they belong, and let nostalgia for those days become an idle fancy, not the grim face of reaction. I think it's far too early for this. We must put the past behind us, or there is no harm in nostalgia. I think there is no harm in nostalgia. They must not exchange it. Should they ever return to power, the landowners that is, let them be monarchists. Let's see what they can do with it. And there you have the law. We now have workers' protections, and I could not be happier. This means that I can now regulate how much our population is earning based on the minimum wage. I think we will be striking gold here going forward. We will need, definitely, without a doubt, more bureaucratic buildings right here, but my god, what an absolute reformation that we have behind us. And you know what, quite frankly, let's go with guaranteed liberties here, right? We've passed all of these other reforms. I mean, we have become a massively different country because of how aggressively we ousted the old order. I am currently building up, but I will tell you, I think we're still quite a bit away from... Well, maybe we can challenge Austria, since they will have a significantly worse army, but it certainly won't be easy. I think our best bet right now is actually to turn Switzerland into a country in our customs union. We just need to get them up even higher. Oh, and would you look at that? We now have Austria-Hungary. I assume, yep, cultural exclusion. They reformed away from being a German-minded empire and instead are now a fairly multicultural empire. Still very much against nationalism, I suppose. We need to see what we can do about that. We need to see how we can interact with that for sure. And oh my god, okay. Okay. We may now be in trouble. The South German Federation just became a unification candidate. I think it is because I built up my army significantly, catapulting us into the great power position. And now that means trouble. First of all, thank you so much, Hanover, for your trust. I very much endorse this. Why do you dislike them so much? Antagonistic attitude, cooperative and amicable attitude. That is just beautiful. Now listen, there's a bit of a problem here, okay? Can I challenge, can I beat Prussia right now? I don't think so. Can they do anything about it right now? No, but the attitude surely will change very, very soon, because they do have the unified Germany AI strategy, which means whether we form Germany or not, we will have to face them. There's no way around it. I am, by the way, passing protected speech. Everything is going well. We are an incredibly liberal country, as we should be. But I think in the next video, we're going to... Oh my god. Wow, that is a massive take right there. I think in the next video, we might have a bit of a showdown with Prussia. I would have really preferred if we could instead go against Austria-Hungary just because I think they are easier to defeat, but hey, if it has to be Prussia, it has to be Prussia. For the moment, I will leave you right here. What else happened? We have Austria, and we have the United States of America with legacy slavery still. We got France having taken Algeria, Great Britain going into Africa as per usual as well. Russia has taken its Far East, and wow, the Great Qing has suffered more than I ever anticipated. Australia and Canada have been unified, good for them. Now it's up to us to defend the liberty of our people. How are you doing, France, by the way? -49, it's getting better, but it's still gonna take some time. For the moment, I will leave you here. Later, alligator.